don't see JD sitting in seat 6 anytime soon. Just normally it's just a crusher on these live streams.
Queen for RyGuy, we know how much he likes that hand.
Yeah. The offsuit variety.
And another interesting dynamic here between the big blind and the big straddle. RyGuy definitely kept his foot on the gas the last time he had the ace-queen, but he is going to play this one out of position as a call, and I think that makes a fair bit of sense.
Oh, wow.
Cooler City here, top pair, second kicker for RyGuy, middle set for JD, and yeah, this is brilliant for JD. RyGuy is going to have a lot of ace X that goes for the open and call.
425. Might be getting a surprise.
Check call from RyGuy. About 2,300 in the middle.
I was about to ask what's going to happen if that card comes out. And there it is.
I don't mind losing.
Queen, just pink. Carnage, baby. You said it.
Betting lead pre-flop and on the flop, but perhaps feeling like he gets checked back more frequently than he wants to. Or no, he's just already checked and we hadn't been caught up. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. JD here now choosing 1,400 for the size, setting himself up for a nice river jam. RyGuy Poker in the chat says,
in the chat.
RyGuy runs so bad. Oh no, he's here to witness the damage. Indeed.
Oh, and you know he's hoping, please JD have ace king, you know, and I just got lucky on your even ace jack, because he knows he's getting paid if he's got those hands.
Nine of hearts comes in. King 10 was already there, so very inconsequential card.
Sure.
Snapped him.
Yeah. And that is a cooler right there. Full-blown setup. Nothing.
This game, but I'll put that on hold because it looks like we're going to have a bit of a collision here. JD opening up the queens, Dan 3-betting, and I imagine there's going to be a little more money put in pre-flop, and these guys are very deep. JD sitting in position, so I imagine he's not going anywhere when JD begins to 4-bet this.
Now, I swore on the graphics I saw that somebody had aces. I wonder if that was Harvey or somebody that was away from the table, but
that may be.
Yeah. The hand's gone if it was, but
Crazy how just in the blink of an eye we could have had such a different hand developing, but you know, somebody walks away, they don't get their aces.
Yep.
Dan is going to make the call, likes the price he's getting in position. Try to cooler those queens, and top set here for JD.
JD kind of back to his old ways of just smashing sets on live stream.
In a bit of an action flop, it's probably a little more advantageous for Dan, which is why we see JD checking it over, and Dan, he's going to have more straights here, he's going to have more sets here, he's going to have 8s and 9s more than JD. JD might c-bet his queens, so Dan's got the green light to just blast off here a lot of the time, and he's going to start with a small bet, set his own price, and JD, all options on the table right now.
He just said that
Queen of clubs, a pretty key card here. JD gonna go for the check and call.
Messy, I don't know about that one.
Wow, what a turn card. Additional
What a turn,
hard
yeah.
flush equity here for Dan.
Yeah. Beautiful turn from Dan, picking up the double gut shot, the sneaky double gutter. One side to the super nuts, meaning that if JD had a hand like pocket 10s and a jack rolls off, he'll be very confident putting a ton of money in here. Dan, I think this is a good time to fire in a potential overbet. Apply maximum pressure to JD's range, which will be a lot of ace-queen and overpairs.
He's reaching.
Reaching deep.
Honeymoon in Vegas.
With Nick Cage? Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, but who's the bad guy in that movie?
Oh,
I look like him.
There we go.
I don't remember.
1.7x pot from Dan.
What do you think here, RyGuy? You check calling this rather than check jamming?
I think there's a lot of merit to both sides of this. JD can obviously price out those draws, but if you're jamming all of your sets here and calling with all of your overpairs, you're going to get put in a lot of miserable spots on rivers, and JD tends to agree. Not a lot of raising versus overbets at these high stakes out of position, so the jack of diamonds on the river, as mentioned earlier, giving Dan the super nuts, meaning that any 10 that JD would have is going to feel very comfortable stacking off, but when this inevitable all-in comes, it's going to be very uncomfortable for JD's top set.
All in.
Yep.
All in.
He says maybe he doesn't have the best runouts. Yeah, it happens to us all. He's notorious for running good on these streams, but you know he runs into them sometimes too.
Some of these good players just seem like they get good runouts, but what makes a good player great is being able to understand these situations and find the hero folds. Let's see if JD can put the pieces together and offload top set.
Yeah, the immediate thought is that if I fold this, I fold everything kind of mentality, and there's some merit to that. But then you do definitely need to start thinking about the actions that were taken, the pre-flop action, and everything to try to piece it all together. But JD does just kind of settle on, can't fold this. Pays it off. Massive pot, nearly 30,000 in the middle there.
Well, there's our big one. Big one for the night. Two of the biggest stacks in the game tonight. Monster flop, huge turn for Dan, and just perfect river.
Alright, JD, black aces, out of the cutoff. And Dan, pure 3-bet in these positions, and I imagine the 4-bet will come in and Dan's going to peel in position. Deja vu from about an hour ago when we saw a $30,000 pot unfold where JD got stacked. JD just picking up a bunch of big pairs today. He had jacks twice, one of which he flopped a set against some guy's top 2.
That was nasty.
Nasty. He also flopped top set against Dan, who put a ton of aggression and led to him getting there, getting the rest of JD's stack. And now we're going to see a flop with 1,500 in the middle and 13,000 left to play for, so a ton of cash left.
Oh, this is the action flop that we're looking for right here. Two players that have already been involved in a huge pot. JD does have the ace of clubs.
Yeah, very dangerous board for JD, especially if that club draw comes through. It's going to be very difficult for him to put Dan on that when he has that ace of clubs blocker. He's going to start with a small bet, as I'm sure he would with every hand here. Obviously, Dan not going anywhere, and he seems like the kind of guy who's going to just call this in position, which he does.
Started football.
And first pitch, right off the bat, nails the flush.
I was hoping after the first contact he'd want to.
JD's got outs, but this is just not his night. He normally just crushes these streams, but he's run into a couple of really bad spots tonight. He's going to check it over to him, though.
Yeah, JD going to give him a little bit of rope, a little bit of pot control he's looking towards, but Dan is trying to make this pot out of control.
Blonde hair, blue eyes, 5'7" already.
He overbet earlier as a bluff. Now he's reaching deep into his stack for about a pot-sized turn bet. JD with probably the worst hand for him to have in this situation. It's going to be very difficult for him to get away on this river. This turn is obviously a easy call, but if the board breaks out and Dan goes for all of it, JD is going to be put into a world of hurt.
Right, now he's got two paired, you know.
Does he play? He plays?
Doesn't change anything.
JD looks like he's got about 8,500 left in his stack, 6,500 in the pot. Dan's shown the propensity of putting in some big bluffs. Let's see if he does the same thing for value.
Yeah. Especially, yeah, once I was...
Didn't really see him eyeing JD's stack. That's a 5K chip JD's got out in front.
Did you go to any soccer school or something? Or you were just playing with friends?
Yeah, there were a lot of like programs in Dallas.
Yeah, and this spot looks like a snap call at this point. Dan can definitely have some worse hands for value. JD understanding that, he makes the call, and he is not having himself a good day. Paying off yet again in a spot that's extremely difficult to fold. One of those situations where you just find yourself with the best bluff catcher you'll ever have. You beat value. He's very capable of bluffing, your opponent is, and sometimes it's just not your night.
Right. Played well, ran well, got into some really good spots against players with some big hands when he just had it. So we hope he gets to come back and play with us again. With a suited ace-5, you see a lot of people 3 and 4 bet with this hand. He's just going to call JD here. And, of course, an ace hits. AJ is going to think he's got the world. He's actually behind a little bit right now, but he's got top pair, diamond draw, backdoor straight draws, and JD's got a big ace. I imagine we're going to see some fireworks here. These guys are probably going to play a big one here. And AJ's going to raise him right out the gate. JD bets 425. AJ's going to raise it up to 1.4K. JD's going to make this call. Probably got some alarm bells going off, but the hand that he's up against is probably the one of the ones he's putting in his mind here. Flush draw, maybe some sort of combo draw. Wow, now that is a turn card. Pretty nasty. JD's going to have to hit a 7 or a non-diamond queen here. AJ's got the commanding lead now with the nut flush draw, 2 pair. Just turn the tables on JD on this hand. I don't see JD sitting in seat 6 anytime soon. This has not been a good night for him. He just normally is just a crusher on these live streams. But even the best of players have some rough nights. So let's see if he's able to get away from this one. AJ's going to make it pretty big here. Probably puts JD on an ace-king, ace-queen type of hand.
It kind of made distance yourself from the money. Like the 5K chip just didn't feel like it was.
JD makes the call.
Yeah. Just a suited Superman. Yeah. It's okay. I mean, whatever.
That card is probably going to save JD quite a bit of money. He's going to check it over. AJ's got about a pot-sized bet left. JD's got him covered. Just a terrible run out for the ace-queen of spades. JD's smart enough
Well, hit me up after
to know it.
if you're doing something.
I think he's going to be able to get away from this one. AJ's going to go all in.
Also, if you ever come back into town, I have a very nice
I don't see
two-bedroom.
JD making a crying
It's just
call
me and my
here.
girlfriend. I just use the second one as an office. So you're
Instant
always
fold.
Yeah.
Instant fold.
No,
No thought about
just
it.
for the future.
Great fold by
Literally an
JD. Just a
extra room.
terrible run out. Tough hand.